Welcome to Amazing Dinosaurs. This is a collection of Jurassic World Indominus Rexes versus Raptor figures. There's around 30 figures in here, and we're gonna line them all up to face off against each other. The first and one of the newest figures in here is this super colossal Indoraptor figure. This figure is absolutely massive. It's got the gold stripe down the side and some really cool teeth. We're gonna place that over here on the left side, which will be the Raptor side. Now it's time for the I-Rex side. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex figure. It has the classic gray coloring with lots of texturing on its body, and it also has some really cool teeth, although I think that the Indoraptor's teeth is even cooler. So let's place this on the right side, which will be the I-Rex side. Check it out, I've actually got two super colossal figures for the Raptor side. This one is an Velociraptor figure. This figure comes in the white with brown striping, and the shape of its head and its teeth are quite different compared to the Indoraptor figure. For the I-Rex side, I've got this crazy custom colored Indominus Rex. It used to be gray, kind of like this super colossal figure back here, but now it is a really cool camouflage green, and they painted a bunch of blood around its mouth, which is a pretty cool detail. And we'll place this I-Rex right next to the super colossal. Next up for the Raptors is this massive Pyroraptor figure. And this figure is actually battery operated. So now once you turn it on here, you can actually interact with this toy. Very cool. And let's place that right here on the Raptor side. Next for the I-Rexes is this older I-Rex figure made by Hasbro. It's got very different coloring compared to the classic gray that they have now. There's some gold on its arms and its underbelly and some red on its back. Plus it has some hidden spikes and it has a battery operated jaw. And we'll place this I-Rex figure right underneath the super colossal figure. For the Raptor side, I've got the new Dino Trackers Indoraptor. You can move its arm for some sound effects, and there's a button on its back for chomping the jaw too. So now let's place this right underneath the super colossal Indoraptor. Now this figure is also from the new Dino Trackers series. This is the new Indominus Rex figure. It's a bit smaller than the older versions, but it still has the same classic coloring, and you can use the button on its tail to chomp its jaw. Check out that really cool green lighting too. All right, let's set this I-Rex down right here. Next, I've got an Amber Collection Velociraptor figure in the brown coloring with the black on top. This figure is super posable. We're gonna set that down on the Raptor side right here. Here is another massive Indominus Rex figure. This one is custom colored in the blue, purple, orange, and black. Plus it's got those really cool green eyes and the chomping effect too. Let's put this one right over here, right next to the other custom colored. Here is another Indoraptors for the Raptor side. This is actually the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. So it's got a button on its tail that'll slash its arms back and forth, as well as a button on its tail to chomp its jaw. And we'll go ahead and put this Indoraptor right here. Time for another I-Rex figure. This is the Battle Damage Edition I-Rex. So it has the same coloring as many of the other ones, but it has this special battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. So let's go ahead and place this I-Rex right over there and grab our next Raptor, which is a Pyroraptor figure. This is the basic figure, so there's no action button, but it still has a decent amount of texturing and coloring. And we're gonna place this Pyroraptor right in front of the super large one behind it. This I-Rex figure is slightly smaller than many of the other ones that I've shown you so far, and it's actually an older version. So this one was also made by Hasbro. And while most of its body is a hard plastic, up at its neck is actually a soft rubber all the way onto its face. And you can move the arm for sound effects and a chomping action. And we're gonna go ahead and place this one right here. Next is another Amber Collection Velociraptor figure, but this one has the orange with brown striping. And these are some of my favorites just because of all the different ways that you can pose them. So now let's set this up on the Raptor side over here. And here's another ginormous Indominus Rex figure. Now this I-Rex figure is actually the same as these two custom colored ones here in the back. So it has the button on the tail for chomping the jaw and the button on its back for slashing its arms. Now let's put this I-Rex way in the back here on the I-Rex side. This next figure is an Velociraptor figure, and it kind of has the same coloring as many of these I-Rex figures, but it has the brown striping and it looks very similar to this super colossal version that I have right here. But this one is a basic edition, so it doesn't have any attack features. It just has the cool texturing and color design. And we're gonna put it right next to the Pyroraptors here. Next up is this crazy looking Irex figure. This one is also made by Mattel, but it looks quite a bit different with these blue spikes on its back and these bright orange marbled eyes. Plus it has a crazy swinging attack when you move its tail up and down. Let's put this crazy figure right over here. This is another Indoraptor figure. I think I actually have quite a few Indoraptors in here. I've got one over there, two over there, and then the super colossal. So this is the fourth of this collection. And this is the basic edition. So this one is a lot smaller, doesn't have any action features, but it still has the really cool coloring and texturing. This little Irex figure, I think is called the Feeding Frenzy Irex. There is a little button on its head that you can press for sound effects, and you can move its tail up to open its mouth, and then when you press down on the tongue, it'll actually snap shut, and its eyes will light up too. And we're gonna put this right over here on the Irex side. Here is the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor Blue. This figure is battery operated, has a small body and a super large head, and you can actually interact with this figure. There's a button on the top of its head that you can press, get some sound effects, and you can touch underneath the chin to have it walk around. Let's place this Raptor figure right over here next to the Indoraptor. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's a whole lot smaller compared to many of the other figures, and it has this single button on its back for the sound effects. Now let's place this one right back here. For the Raptors, I've got another Rowdy Roars figure. This is an Atrociraptor figure. It has the same shaped body and the head, and it has the button on the top for the sound effects. And you can touch underneath its chin to have it walk around. So let's go ahead and put that right next to the other Rowdy Roars Raptor. This next Irex figure was not created by Mattel or Hasbro, but a modeling company, so it looks a whole lot more realistic. Although this is definitely more of a display piece since the only part you can move is its mouth open and closed. Which is a bummer, but all in all, it is a really cool looking figure. Next up now is a vintage Raptor figure. This figure was made for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro. It has an action button on its side that doesn't work anymore, but it was a battle damage button. And on this figure, you can move the tail up and down to get a jaw chomping action. Now, why don't we go ahead and put this right up front? Here's a kind of similar looking Indominus Rex figure and was actually made around the same time. This also came out for the first Jurassic World movie, and it features the battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and the tail controls the jaw as well, so you can get some chomping action with this figure too. And we're gonna put this one on the front lines as well. Alrighty, another Velociraptor blue figure, one of my favorite. This one is from the Amber collection, so it has some pretty cool texturing and detailing, and is superposable just like the others. So we're gonna place it right next to the other Amber collection figures. This next figure is pretty special. This is a Lego Irex figure. Check out that really cool coloring and design on its body to make the skin look really textured, and it's got some bright red eyes too. Let's put this Irex figure right over here. And here is the last Amber collection figure in this series. This is the teal Velociraptor figure, which is one of my personal favorite coloring for these Amber collection figures. So then let's place that right over there next to the Amber collection. And now let's check out the smallest Irex figure yet. This one is even smaller than many of the Raptor figures that I have. But it still has this really cool feature that when you move the tail, you can move the head around. And why don't we place this one right there? This next Velociraptor figure is a pretty special one because its legs are actually spring-loaded. So you can press it down, and then when you release it, it'll fly up into the air. That is a pretty cool feature, and I do love the super bright coloring on this figure. Now here is our final Irex figure of this collection. It is the tiny Snap Squad Irex figure. So you can lift up its mouth since it's spring-loaded and latch it on to anything that you want. Let's put this right there. And here is our final Velociraptor figure of the collection, a yellow and brown version. But not only that, it has a battle damage right on the side that you can flip open and close. Let's first set up these super colossal figures. This is the Camp Cretaceous Indominus Rex. It's got a super bumpy texture all over its body, and it's got some of my favorite teeth in my entire collection. For the T-Rex side is another super colossal figure, but this one is actually custom colored. Check out this awesome green camo painting. It's even got some battle damage on its side too. Now let's get started with our smaller T-Rex and I-Rex figures. Let's grab this Camp Cretaceous Extreme Battle Damage I-Rex figure. It's quite a bit smaller than the super colossal version, but it has some action buttons. One for the jaws and another button to activate the battle damage. Let's set this I-Rex right next to the super colossal. For our next T-Rex, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure features much more intricate painting than many of the Mattel figures, and it is very adjustable and posable as well. Let's set this up right next to the super colossal. Let's grab our next I-Rex figure. We're gonna go with this hybrid, crazy looking I-Rex. It's got a bright red color all the way down its back, some crazy coloring, and some gold on the side as well. And check out this feature. That is pretty cool. Let's set this up right underneath the super colossal figure. And grabbing our next T-Rex figure, let's go with this custom colored Fire T-Rex. This figure is quite a bit smaller than the Hammond Collection figure, but it has even cooler painting in my opinion. Let's set this one up to face off with the I-Rexes. Back to the I-Rexes, we've got this older Jurassic World Indominus Rex figure. And this one's pretty unique because it actually has a rubberized neck and jaw. Let's set this up right next to the bright I-Rex figure. The next T-Rex figure is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. It's got a lot of darker detailing along its body compared to other T-Rex figures, and it has an awesome, huge chomping action. Let's set this T-Rex up way in the back. For the I-Rexes, let's go ahead and grab this other huge figure. Now this Indominus Rex figure is pretty similar to the battle damage version, but it does not have the battle damage on the side. Instead, it has a button that swings its arms. And let's set this one up in the back too. For the T-Rexes, let's grab this slightly smaller T-Rex. It's got the dark brown coloring on top and the gray-brown coloring on the sides. And of course, it's got a roar and chomping action. Let's set this one up real close to the Indominus Rexes. We're getting pretty close. Back to the I-Rexes, let's grab this really strange looking I-Rex figure. This is by Imaginext, and this figure has a super cool swinging and chomping action. Look at that, it swings its whole neck and torso around. Let's set this up right next to its other buddies. Our next T-Rex figure is an orange version with battle damage painted all over its body. It's got damage on its torso, on its leg, its tail, and even its face too. Let's set this dino up right next to the other T-Rexes. I've got another huge I-Rex figure right here, and this one might be the craziest colored of them all. This figure is the exact same size as these other two figures here, but it's got some crazy orange, purple, blue, and black. Here's another extreme battle damage Tyrannosaurus Rex. I believe this one was from Camp Cretaceous. Let's check out that battle damage right on the side. Let's set this T-Rex up in the back, right next to the Dominion T-Rex. Here is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex. It's a lot smaller than many of the other figures, but this one comes with some really cool sound effects. Let's sneak this Indominus Rex right back here. I've also got the Sound Surge T-Rex figure as well. Let's check out these sound effects. Let's put this little T-Rex underneath the larger T-Rexes. Next up, I believe this is part of the Rowdy Roars collection. Here is another wild-looking I-Rex. Check it out, it's got a chomping and biting action. It's pretty cool. Let's put this right front and center. For the T-Rex side, we've got a special hybrid T-Rex. Check out the spikes that pop out of its back. That is super cool looking. Let's set this up close to the front. For the I-Rexes, we've got a smaller figure. This one has some battle damage right on the side that you can open and close. Plus, you can chomp the jaw by moving the tail. I think we've got a little more space in the front up here. And here is our last big T-Rex figure for this Versus collection. This is a red and black spotted T-Rex. Plus, it's got a little action button on its back to chomp its jaw. And we'll set it down right behind the T-Rex with the spikes. Here's an even smaller I-Rex figure. It's got some battle damage on the side. You can't open and close, but you can still use the tail to chomp the jaw. Let's set this I-Rex right in the front here. We're getting real close now. And finally, we've got some miniature T-Rex and I-Rex figures right here. Let's go ahead and set up this completely clear I-Rex figure in the front. And on the opposing side, this tiny orange T-Rex. All right, now they are all in formation. Which side do you think would win? The I-Rexes or the T-Rexes? First up, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. This figure has a dark brown side and black top with a lighter underbelly. And it's got adjustable arms, legs, and a tail. And up front, I can tell that the plastic is a bit softer on its neck. The rest of its head is a hard plastic, and you can open it up way wide, and you're able to actually swallow smaller dinosaurs down to the stomach compartment. That's pretty cool. Next up, we've got another super colossal figure. This is an Indominus Rex. It has the classic light gray body, and is pretty detailed with all the spikes and the spines. It's got some spines up there, it's got some behind its elbows, it's got those super long claws on its hand. And just like the T-Rex, you can adjust the arms, the legs, you can swing the tail around. But on this figure, you can also twist the neck too. Here is the next figure. It's another super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex. This one has the light orange body with a lighter underbelly. And just like the Jurassic World Dominion Tyrannosaurus Rex, the neck is actually a little bit softer. It's like a softer plastic right there. And you can move the arms, the legs, the tail, just like the other ones. And of course, this one has the stomach compartment for eating smaller dinosaurs. And we've got some brand new figures that we can open up first before we dive into the rest of them. This one is the PNSO Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure is super detailed. Look at all that texturing on its body, all the various shades of colors. It's like lighter right here, there's darker shades. These are a lot more detailed than a lot of the Jurassic World figurines. But unfortunately, they're not as posable. Usually you can only move their jaw. All right, let's dig in. This first Tyrannosaurus Rex is the Battle Damage Edition. It has the light orange body. You can see that there's scrapes and slashes all over its body, even on its face and nose. And it has a fully posable body, plus the button at the top of the head for chomping. Over here, we've got an Indominus Rex, the Extreme Battle Damage Edition. With this one, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off. That's so cool. Each time that you press that button, it delivers a roar sound effect too. On the rest of the figure, the arms and the legs are fully adjustable, and there's a button at the tail that controls the jaw. Here we've got the epic Roarin' Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure is light brown on the sides, dark brown on top, and the lighter underbelly. And the coolest part is the roar and shaking sound effects. Over here is the Jurassic World Chompin' Indominus Rex. This is a bit of an older figure. It's got the hard plastic on the back and the rubber on the neck and head. You don't see that too often nowadays. And for the chomping action, you pull down on the arms to open and close its mouth. I believe this figure is the Bite and Fight Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you can tell by the name, it has one big special feature. Press this button on its back and it does a tearing action. Swings its head around and closes its mouth real fast. And there is also a secondary button that swings its tail back and forth. I believe this figure is the Destroy and Devour Indominus Rex, but you'll notice that it has some custom coloring. So, this definitely does not look like your typical Indominus Rex. And this figure really pops out on my display shelves. My favorite part being those green eyes right there. Next up is the Stomp and Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex. As you can tell by the name, it has two features. The first, when you press this button on its back, it'll escape from its face cage. Just like that. And the second feature is Stompin'. When you twist the tail, it stomps its feet up and down. Comes with sound effects too. Here we have a classically colored Destroy and Devour Indominus Rex. This figure is pretty detailed over its body. It's got tons of spikes on its back. It's got those spines right along its neck. It's got some unique coloring along its eyes, right next to those orange eyes. And this figure has a few different features. First, when you bend the legs forward, it'll actually point its head down. And when you bend them back, it'll point its head upwards. Secondly, there's a button on its back that's used for slashing. And finally, there's a button on its tail for the chomping and roaring. Here is an extreme battle damage Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure is pretty poseable. You're able to move the arms, the legs, and swing the tail around, as well as adjust the neck and open and shut the jaw by hand. But the coolest part is the battle damage that you can turn on and off, just like the Indominus Rex that we saw earlier. And you can see it on both sides. Next up, we've got the Extreme Chompin' Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has a more gray-brown coloring on the sides, with a darker brown on top and the light underbelly, and is adjustable just like many of the other figures. And it has the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. Here is another Indominus Rex, but this does not look normal. This is a hybrid Indominus Rex. So this one has some pretty awesome and unique coloring along its body. It's the only Indominus Rex to have red on its body, I believe, as well as the gold on its arms and its belly. And this dinosaur has a few features. First is a hidden button that activates its spikes on its back. Secondly is the chomping action, which you activate by moving its arm. Here we have, I believe, another extreme chomping Tyrannosaurus Rex. This one, though, has the orange body with the brown coloring on the top with the lighter underbelly. And of course, that chomping button right on the top of its head. This is the Stomp and Chomp Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has the typical orange body with the brown top and lighter underbelly. And what I really like about this figure is that you use the tail to control the head and the whole front of the body for chomping and for roaring too. Here we've got a model Indominus Rex, which I don't see that many of. But what I like about these models is that they're so much more intricately colored and textured. Check out those spikes on its back. They're so small on all those little spines. And all those little horn things right along its back all the way to its tail. And just like many other model figures, you can't adjust the arms and legs. Only the mouth can open and close in these. But these sure look epic on a display shelf. Next up is the Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is one of the few Tyrannosauruses that I have that are this cool green color with the black detailing on the top. It has that same button on the top of its head for chomping. And this T-Rex actually came with a baby T-Rex in the same pack. So these came together. Here is a smaller Indominus Rex figure with the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. And while most of its body is that iconic gray color, it does have some gray-green coloring along the top, which is different from most of my other Indominus Rex figures. Plus, this figure comes with a chomping action when you move the tail. Way at the bottom here, I've actually got the T-Rex anatomy kit. Now I am missing a few pieces to it. It's really easy to misplace these, but it's really cool that you can take this apart to check out all the different body parts within. You can take the ribs out, you can see this muscle on its tail and the bone behind it, and you can even take apart this foot right here and see what's underneath. How cool is that? This is the Bashers and Biters Indominus Rex figure. This is from the old Jurassic World toy line, and it has similar coloring to the rest of them, a little bit darker gray on top, got the battle damage on the side, and of course you can move the tail to control the face. This is a Tyrannosaurus Rex figure, but I believe it is a juvenile or even a baby T-Rex. You can see it's got the mouth restraint on, because the humans are actually healing its leg. It's got a broken leg, so it's got this bandage around it. And this figure is very adjustable too. You can move all the limbs, even at the elbows. And of course you can move the tail and twist the head around and even open and close the mouth. This is the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex. This is a lot smaller than most of the Indominus Rex figures, but it has quite a large face to it. And it has a few features. The first is when you press this button on its nose, get some sound effects. And the second is when you move the tail, it opens its mouth to eat, and then you can press down on its tongue to clamp shut its jaw. And last of all, I've got a few small figures in here. Got a Lego Indominus Rex figure, which is pretty cool. It's the only Lego figure that I have in this bin, at least. We've also got some miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex figures from Jurassic World. This one is green with a light underbelly, and the second one here is brown with a light underbelly as well. And I also have these two Indominus Rexes in this bin. The first one is white with silver, reflective silver on its top, and you can open and close the jaw. And the second one is a clear Indominus Rex. You can't move any parts on this figure, but I think it's pretty cool that it's see-through. First, let's check out these super colossal figures. This is Velociraptor Blue in this super colossal form. It's got the iconic blue stripe and the classic raptor teeth. Right next to that is an Atrociraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's colored white and it has some brown striping on its body and some very similar teeth. And the last super colossal raptor is this new Indoraptor figure, and it is one of my favorites for sure. Like Velociraptor Blue, it has a stripe down its side, but it is a gold stripe, and I really love how different its teeth are compared to the other raptors. Moving over to the T-Rex side, this is the super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. It has the brown colored body and totally different teeth compared to the raptors. Right next to that is a custom colored T-Rex that I've had for a really long time. It is a light blue-gray color. It has some dark red eyes and some sharper teeth, I think, compared to the Dominion T-Rex. And finally, there is another custom colored T-Rex here. This one is the Fire T-Rex. It's got red, yellow, and black all over its body. Its eyes actually do not have any pupils, and overall is just a really cool looking dinosaur. And now let's check out these new sets that I got. This first one is the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Ambush Pack. Here is the Jeep that comes in this set. It is a camo Jeep. It's got the barricaded windows, and at the top is Dr. Ian Malcolm. But even better than that is this new T-Rex with new painting. I don't have another T-Rex with this color design on it. Looks to be mostly a dark green color. It has some gray and yellow accenting on the top of its back. And of course, it has the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. Now let's check out the new Dino Trackers Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. And here it is, an entirely new T-Rex figure in my collection. Once again, this one has totally new coloring. It's got some brown striping with an almost yellow color along the top. And it has this headpiece that you can fit it onto its face. And now it's kind of like an eyepiece or something like that. And this figure actually has a new attack button on its back. Let's check it out. So it's like a sideways chomping action with sound effects. That's pretty cool. Now let's get these new T-Rex figures set up on the T-Rex side. And now let's move on to our next figures. So next we're gonna grab a Raptor. Why don't we go with the largest one here? This is a Raptor figure. And this one's pretty special because it actually is battery powered and you can actually play with it and it walks around and stuff. So let me turn on the power. Let's see it. You can tap it on the head here. It'll respond to you, or underneath the chin as well. That's a pretty cool and pretty unique figure. We're gonna set it over here on the Raptor side. Now it's back to the T-Rexes. Let's check out this epic roaring T-Rex from Camp Cretaceous. This figure is a little bit larger than the other T-Rexes that I've shown so far, and it has an attack button on its tail for roaring and chomping and moving the head around. And let's get this T-Rex on the T-Rex side right there. Back to the Raptors, let's go with this awesome Indoraptor figure. As you can tell, this figure is way smaller than the super colossal Indoraptor figure, but I'm still a pretty big fan of it. It's got this cool blue reflective coloring over its entire body. So let's go ahead and set it up underneath the super colossal Raptors. Next up for the T-Rexes, I've got the new 93 Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure was released as part of the 30th anniversary for Jurassic Park and looks very similar to the vintage one that they released all those years ago. It's even got the real feel skin texture too. Now let's set it up to face off against the Raptors on the T-Rex side. Let's see, what Raptor should we go with next? Why don't we go with this Velociraptor blue figure? This is another pretty unique Velociraptor figure. You can see that it's built quite a bit differently and it has these really cool movements. First, it has a snapping action with sound effects. You can move its tail around, you can move its legs, and really make it look super lifelike. It's really cool. And so let's set this over on the Raptor side, right underneath the super colossal Indoraptor. For the T-Rexes, I've got a classic brown T-Rex figure. This figure features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head for snapping its jaw open and closed. And so let's set this over here, right underneath this Dominion super colossal figure. Next, let's grab this Mega Raptor figure. This figure was released for Jurassic World Dominion. It features some really cool red and dark blue coloring. It has a ton of cool spikes on its back and a chomping action. And let's set it up right over here, right in front of the little Indoraptor. Next, let's go with a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. And I think this figure is a little bit larger than almost all of these other T-Rex figures. It has a much larger torso, and it actually has a button on its back used for a huge roaring and chomping action. All right, now let's see if we can get this T-Rex lined up on the T-Rex side. Looks like he's standing a little closer to the Raptors. For the Raptors, let's grab this Amber Collection Velociraptor figure. These Amber Collection figures are really cool because of their unique coloring and because of how posable they are. You can move practically every limb in this Raptor as it would in real life. And now we're gonna set this right back here for the Raptor side. And back for the T-Rexes, let's grab this fiery red T-Rex. This T-Rex also has the yellow, black, and red coloring, very similar to the super colossal figure right here, but it's a bit more reflective and shiny overall. And it features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head for chomping. And we're gonna set this one right next to the other Fire T-Rex, right above it. Now let's grab this other Velociraptor blue figure. Looks like we have 3 Velociraptor blues in this collection so far. We first had the super colossal version, then we had this little one over here, and now here is, I believe, the smallest version in this collection. Now this figure is a basic version, so it's a bit cheaper than many of these other figures, but it doesn't have an attack button. You can only move its tail, its legs, and its arm. But overall, still pretty cool. And now let's set this in line over on the Raptor side here. This next T-Rex here is another Legacy Collection T-Rex, I believe. So here is the older Legacy Collection, and here is the newer version that we just opened up at the beginning of the video. And this version too has some dark green coloring, although it just has some black striping on the top of its body, but it still has the button on its head for chomping and roaring. Now why don't we go ahead and set it up right in front of the other Legacy Collection T-Rex. So we got the two green T-Rexes right next to each other. Here's another basic figure for the Raptor side. This is a Pyroraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. Now it's pretty similar in shape and size to the Velociraptor blue figure that we saw earlier from the basic series, but it has some pretty cool feather texturing on its arms, on its body, and on the top of its head too. So let's go ahead and set this up right next to the Velociraptor blue figure. Here is the Terran T-Rex figure. This one is a massive Tyrannosaurus Rex. It still has the classic brown coloring on its body, but it has two big action buttons on its back. The first operates the huge Terran action. Check that out, it twists its whole neck and chomps its jaw shut. And the second button swings the tail back and forth. Could probably knock out some raptors with that swing. All right, let's see if we've got more space for this Terran T-Rex. It's getting pretty cramped over here on the T-Rex side. This next Raptor is a quite old Velociraptor figure from the first Jurassic World movie. This figure was actually made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, who made many of these newer figures over here. And you know, overall, it's a pretty basic figure. You can only move the legs and the arms a little bit, but sadly, there's no chomping or attack action. But nonetheless, we'll still set it up right over here on the Raptor side. Here we've got a battle damaged T-Rex figure. This T-Rex comes in the orange-brown coloring, and you can see that it has battle damage painted all over its body and even some on its face. Plus, it has the button for chomping and roaring at the top of its head. Let's see, oh boy, where are we gonna fit this T-Rex? And we can put him right up front, right here. For the Velociraptor side, we're gonna go with this basic Atrociraptor figure. This figure is much like the other basic figures that we saw in that you can move its tail, its legs, and its arms, but it doesn't have any actions. But it's still a pretty cool piece. I love the bright red eyes, and it has similar painting to the super colossal Atrociraptor that I've got right up there. And we'll go ahead and put this Atrociraptor right next to the other basic Raptor figures. Now here is another super old Jurassic World figure, I believe from the first movie once again, which means that this figure I believe was made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, and this whole T-Rex was actually custom colored as well. So let's put this little T-Rex right in here. I think we've got a little space back here. There we go. And here are all the final figures for this collection, so I'm just gonna bring them all over here in a pile. Let's first get this Amber Collection Velociraptor set up. It has some really cool teal coloring with spots all over, and just like all the other Amber Collection, is super posable. And let's place it down right here at the edge of the line. Let's set up a few more Raptors over here while we're at it. Here is a smaller gray and yellow Velociraptor. It's very small, so there's no action button, but it's still pretty posable. And we're gonna place this right over here. Next is this red and green Velociraptor, and it has spring-loaded legs, so you can actually press down and send it flying into the air. And we'll set that one up right here. Now I've got two more Velociraptors right here. This one is the newer one. I believe it's part of the Dino Tracker series, and it actually does have an attack button for moving its head up and down. And we're gonna set this one back here. And then this Velociraptor is a more clay red or kind of a brown color, and it is a battle damage edition Atrociraptor. So you can see a button right there and the battle damage on its side. You can click on and off. And we're gonna set this Raptor up right over here on the edge of the line. But let's not forget our last and smallest T-Rex of the collection. This is the Sound Surge T-Rex, and it has the classic brown coloring all over its body with some gray detailing on the top of its head. And of course, the sound effects that you can turn on with the button. And so finally, let's place this on the T-Rex side, right in front of the Velociraptors. And that is the full collection. Which side do you think would win in a battle? The Raptors or the T-Rexes? Let me know in the comments below. The first and largest raptor of this collection is this custom colored super colossal Indoraptor. This used to be a Velociraptor blue figure, but now it has the black with the gold stripe down its back for the Indoraptor. For the next biggest figure is another super colossal. This is Velociraptor blue. And as you can see, these two super colossal figures are actually identical. So this one originally used to be a Velociraptor blue just like this. Moving on to our next biggest figure is this Dino Tracker's Indoraptor. This is quite a new figure and it's got a really cool reflective blue color all over it. It's also got an action button on its back to activate its jaw. And you can move the arms to twist the neck back and forth too. Next up in size, let's see, I think it's actually another Indoraptor, but this is an older figure. This is the grab and growl version. And this figure is pretty hard to find nowadays, so it's actually pretty rare. And on this figure, you can use the tail to open and close the jaw, to swing the arms back and forth, and to move the entire torso. Check it out, they're pretty close in size. Next up, I'm gonna be opening a brand new one. This is the Primal Pal Velociraptor blue figure. Let's open it up. So this figure has a shorter tail than a lot of the Velociraptor figures I have, and it actually has some pretty realistic movements. You can move it side to side, it's got some sound effects, and you can push it down for a chomp action too. And let's set that right next in line. Moving right along here, I think we've got our final Indoraptor of this collection. A lot of these Indoraptors are pretty big. This is the smallest one, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but all of its limbs are still extremely posable. This next one is the basic Velociraptor blue figure. There's not too much that you can adjust with it, but it still has movable arms, legs, and a tail. This next one is another medium-sized basic Velociraptor figure, but it has totally different coloring. It's in a bright orange and brown coloring. Next, we've got our first Atrociraptor of this collection, and this figure I actually personally custom colored. This is another basic figure from Jurassic World, so it doesn't have that many action features, but I'm really happy with how the color turned out. Check it out, here's another Atrociraptor figure. This is the basic edition, once again from Jurassic World. So let's set this down right next to the custom colored one. And here is our first Pyroraptor of this collection. This is the basic edition, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail. And I think it might be a little bit smaller or actually the same size as the Atrociraptors. All right, here is the first and only Megaraptor that I have in my entire collection. This is from the Jurassic World Dominion series. It's got some huge claws on its hand, and when you press down on its back, it has a chomping action. For the next in size, let's go with the Hammond Edition Velociraptor. These raptors are pretty cool because they are super articulate with their limbs, and they have quite a bit more detail than the basic ones. And right over here is another Amber Collection Velociraptor. This one is Velociraptor Blue. Check out that blue stripe down its back. And here is the final Amber Collection Velociraptor that I have in this collection. This one is the bright green with stripes on it. And let's set that down right next in line. Next up here is a pretty old Jurassic World figure. This is one of the first Velociraptors that Jurassic World released for the first movie. And these figures have quite a hard time standing up, so let's see if we can get it to stand up in line as the next in size. All right, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. Here is another Atrociraptor figure in the bright orange coloring, but this is actually a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. Let's turn on the power and let's see it come to life. All right, now we're getting down to the real small raptors. Let's open up this new Austroraptor from the Dino Tracker series. So I think this is the only Austroraptor that I have in my entire collection. And this one has a much narrower and longer snout than a lot of the Velociraptor figures I have in my collection, but it's still got some feathering on its elbows. Right over here, I've got a super bright Velociraptor figure. It's in a bright blue color, and this one is actually spring-loaded, so you can launch it up into the air. Here, let me show you how it leaps. You press down, and then you release. This next one is another spring-loaded Velociraptor, but this is in a brown and dark brown coloring. Let's check out that jumping action on this one too. Next up, this Velociraptor figure has a slashing action. So when you push on its torso, it swings back and forth, and it's actually spring-loaded too, so it can be pretty fast. All right, let's set this down next in line. This next one is a darker colored Velociraptor, and it has a different feature. There's a button on its back that you can use for a slashing action. Next, we've got our final Atrociraptor figure of this collection, and this is a battle damage edition. There is a button on its back that you can use to activate the battle damage on the side. And since we're out of space on the very end of the table, let's start a new line up front here. This next figure is a newer Velociraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a darker body with some bright detailing on the top. This next raptor is a really cool colored Velociraptor. Check out that green speckled detailing on the top of its body. And let's set that down right there. Here's a different looking Velociraptor blue figure. This might actually be Velociraptor Beta because it does look quite a bit younger. Now this is an amazingly colored Velociraptor. Check out that reflective gold right on its head. And let's put that next in line. All right, only two left. This next one is another Pyroraptor figure, but this one is a battle damage edition with a button on the top to open and close the battle damage. And the final raptor in this biggest to smallest collection is this click tracker Atrociraptor. So after you turn it on, you use the remote and it follows the sound. Let's check that out. It's pretty cool. I like that it's motorized. Let's get started with these brand new ones that I just bought to add to this collection. First up, we've got Baryonyx Limbo from the Camp Cretaceous pack. Let's open it up. This is so cool. This is actually the first of this Baryonyx that I have in my collection. It's got a lime green body, it's got a darker green along the bottom of its back, and it's got some brown detailing on its neck all the way to the top of its head. You can move all the limbs and the tail on this figure, and there is a slide lever action for roaring and the sound effects. Next up, we've got the Velociraptor from the Jurassic World Attack Pack. Let's check it out. This Velociraptor has some pretty unique coloring. It's got a dark blue body and a dark red detailing along the top, which is pretty unique. I don't know that I have another figure colored like this. And here we've got another Velociraptor, but this is actually from the Hammond collection. Let's open it up and check it out. This Velociraptor figure is even darker than the one that we just saw. It's got a dark green body with brown detailing on the tail, all over the back on its legs, and it's still got the lighter underbelly all the way to the chin. And since it's a Hammond collection figure, you'll notice that it is much more posable than a lot of the classic Velociraptor figures. You can move basically every limb on this figure. Let's dig into this bin now, and we're gonna start with the Velociraptors over here on the left. The first one here is Velociraptor Delta from the Amber collection. You'll notice with all these Amber collection figures that they are very posable, just like the Hammond collection figures. And Velociraptor Delta here has some bright blue coloring with a lighter underbelly. This is Velociraptor Blue from the Amber collection. Very posable, just like the last one. Can move the tail and all the limbs. And of course, it's got the iconic blue stripe all the way down the body on both sides. This, I believe, is Velociraptor Echo. This is also from the Amber collection. It's got the light underbelly, a brown body with some darker striping, and the black top too. The next Velociraptor from the Amber collection is, I believe this one is called the Tiger Velociraptor. I can't quite remember. Let me know down in the comments if you remember. I also forgot to mention earlier that in all the Amber collection Velociraptors, you can actually move this claw up and down, just like real life. This last Velociraptor from the Amber collection is Velociraptor Charlie. This figure has a lime green body with darker green detailing all over its back and tail. It's got this headpiece attached to its head, and just like all the other ones, it is very posable and adjustable, and you can stand it in any way you want on your shelf. Let's see what other Velociraptor figures we got in here. I've got these smaller ones. This bright red Velociraptor is actually spring-loaded on its legs, so you can spring it up into the air, which is really cool. It's also got some pretty bright and awesome coloring too. This other Velociraptor is also spring-loaded in the legs, so you can spring it into the air, and it's also got some bright coloring too. And of course, I've got Velociraptor Blue in the smaller figure with battle damage on the side. Right over here, I've got some Jurassic Park Velociraptors. So these figures are some of the oldest in my collection. You can see the Jurassic Park tattoo on their legs on both of them, but they've both got some different coloring. This is an orange and red Velociraptor, and this one, which I'm sure you've seen before, is brown with the black striping all over its body. This Velociraptor is pretty normal looking. It's got the brown body, a little darker brown on the top, but my favorite part is that it's got some bright green eyes. This next Velociraptor figure is another spring-loaded leaping Velociraptor. This one is also super brightly colored. It's got the bright blue on the sides with the darker blue along the top. Here is another Velociraptor figure with muted colors. It's got the gray body with the dark blue detailing along the top and some soft orange eyes. This is another version of Velociraptor Blue, but this one is the spring-loaded leaping version. So just like the others that I've shown you, you can bend down on its legs and it'll spring up into the air if you let it go. And of course, it's got the iconic blue coloring. Here is a basic Velociraptor figure from Jurassic World. It's a lot larger, but the limbs cannot move as much, and it's not as versatile. Even the jaw cannot open and close. But it's still got some pretty cool coloring, the orange body, brown detailing, and yellow eyes. This is another basic figure from Jurassic World, but this is Velociraptor Blue. It's got the soft green-blue body with the iconic blue stripe down on both sides of its body, and the yellow eyes. You know what? I almost forgot these super colossal figures right here. This first Velociraptor is black around most of its body, but it's got this brown striping down the sides with some yellow speckling that's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's also a little bit on its arm as well. It's got some super amazing colored eyes, and of course this super huge jaw that you can open up all the way to feed it miniature dinosaurs down to its stomach compartment. Way back here, we've got the super colossal Velociraptor Blue figure. This super colossal figure is very similar to the Velociraptor that I just showed you. It's even got the same amazingly colored eyes. And of course, it's got the iconic blue stripe down both sides of its body. Pretty adjustable with its limbs. And of course, it's got the stomach compartment down from its throat all the way down to its stomach, so you can feed it miniature dinosaurs. All right, I think that's it for all our Velociraptor figures. Now let's move to the Baryonyx figures right here in the center. The first one is the Baryonyx figure from the Hammond collection. So you'll see that this figure is very posable and adjustable with all its limbs. Plus, it's got a little more detail than most of the other Baryonyx figures. Next up, we've got the Baryonyx with the battle damage on its body. You can see a huge slash on its neck. It's got some on its leg as well. And I think that's the only battle damage that's shown on this figure. But it's also got the button on its back for the chomping. This is an older Baryonyx figure from Jurassic Park. So this figure is a lot older. And as you can see, it is designed quite a bit differently. But it also has an action that when you move the leg back and forth, the head twists. This is a brighter Baryonyx. It's got a light gray body with white, dark blue, and bright blue detailing on the top of its head. And this figure comes with a slide lever action for different roars and sound effects. This next Baryonyx figure is similar to the one that I opened up at the very beginning of the video, but it has a slightly more forced green color and it has two tones of brown on the top. It's got the light brown in the back and the dark brown along its neck, and then the light brown right along the top of its head once again. This Baryonyx figure came out during the Fallen Kingdom era. It's got the light brown body with the blue detailing along the top and the super bright orange along the top of its head and nose. Here is another Baryonyx figure from the Jurassic Park series. So this figure, once again, is a lot older. It has the bright yellow underbelly and some light brown with black specks along the top. And like the other Jurassic Park Baryonyx that we saw earlier, it has the action that when you move its leg, its head twists back and forth. Here is our final Baryonyx of the bin. This figure has a light brown side and underbelly. It's got the dark blue detailing all along the top from the tail to the head, and it's got the bright blue reflective coloring right along the top of its head and nose too. There's only one more dinosaur left in the bin, and that is the Carnotaurus figures. Let's start with the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. This figure has the iconic clay red sides with the lighter underbelly and the brown top. It's got the two huge horns on the top of its head. It's got a little bit of battle damage on the right side of its face. And of course, it's got a huge jaw that you can open up all the way to feed it miniature dinosaurs. This Carnotaurus figure is from the Fallen Kingdom era. It's got some darker red coloring with some purplish coloring along the top. And this Carnotaurus has a different action button than all the rest that I'll show you. It has a chomping action that moves its neck as well. This, I believe, is the Control and Conquer Carnotaurus. It has a much darker red, pretty much brown coloring along its body. It's got a gray underbelly and a dark brown top. And with this figure, the tail controls the neck so you can twist it back and forth, as well as a button on its tail for chomping. This next Carnotaurus, I believe, might be from Camp Cretaceous, but I can't quite remember. It's got a lighter red and slightly orange coloring along the side with the brown top and the gray underbelly. And this figure also has the tail that controls the head, as well as the button for chomping. I've also got some smaller Carnotaurus figures in here that are not from Jurassic World, but are a bit more generic. But they differ quite a bit more with the coloring. You can see that this one's got some green coloring with it. Still got the iconic horns though. And this figure has some bright orange along its face. You won't see that with the Jurassic World figures. And this figure looks a bit more like Jurassic World with the red and the spines. But this figure has some ginormous horns on the top of its head. That's really cool. Here we've got the Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's even got the broken horn on the top of its head. This figure is colored entirely different too. It's got the dark green body with the orange detailing along the top. So it looks like they started to mix it up for the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. And last of all, we've got the Jurassic World Chompin' Carnotaurus figure. This figure looks more like a baby Carnotaurus in a lot of ways. It's got some huge eyes that you can actually blink with by pressing the button on the top of its head. And it's got a button on the bottom of its tail for a chomping action. Let's get started with the biggest T-Rex figures. This one is a custom colored super colossal T-Rex. This is one of my most brightly colored T-Rexes. This one is super cool and will be the first on the right side. Over here we've got another super colossal T-Rex. I believe this one is from Camp Cretaceous. It has the bright orange sides with the brown on top and the lighter underbelly. So let's place this on the left side over here. Going back to the right side, let's grab this super colossal Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This version of the super colossal T-Rex features some of the darkest coloring that any of my T-Rex figures have. And let's put this one on the right side. And for our final super colossal T-Rex is another custom colored one. This one is a light blue-gray color all over and has some bright red eyes. I think this figure actually used to be the same color as this one right here. So let's put this figure on the left side to face off. There are our super colossal figures. Now let's move on to the rest of the smaller figures. This T-Rex is the Terran T-Rex. It has a button on its back that you can use for a really cool tearing action. It swings its entire neck around and closes its mouth. And not only that, but it also has a button to swing its tail back and forth too. All right, what team should we put this one on? Let's put it on the right side team. Up next is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This figure came out pretty recently. It features much more detailed coloring and texturing, plus you can move its body in all sorts of different directions. Now let's put this Hammond Collection T-Rex on the left team. Here is the epic Roarin' T-Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. This figure is one of my favorite T-Rexes because of its realistic coloring, and it actually has a roar sound effects with vibration. That is battery operated. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this one on the right team. For the left team, we're gonna go with the smaller Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. You can see that compared to the super colossal version, it's actually quite similar with the black on top and the dark brown on the sides and the yellow eyes, but obviously just a whole lot smaller. And we're gonna place this one actually on the left team. This T-Rex is another custom-colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World, and this one features some really cool camouflage coloring all over its body. And you can even move the tail for a jaw-snapping action and for a roaring action too. Now let's put this on the right team for the face-off. Now back to our bin, what one should we grab next? Let's go for this bright orange one. This looks to be like a battle damaged Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has some painted slashes on its neck and on its chin, as well as on its leg and its torso. And this seems to be a little bit smaller than a lot of these figures. And we're gonna go ahead and put this on the left team. Wow, look at that size difference between this one and the Hammond Collection T-Rex. For the right side, we're gonna go with this other battle damage T-Rex, but instead of painted battle damage, it actually has an activated battle damage slash right there that you can turn on and off. It's also interesting that this figure is a much darker orange than that battle damage T-Rex. And we're gonna put this one on the right team. Next up, we've got a larger T-Rex figure. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. And this T-Rex figure actually came with this cage that you put on its face. And once it's on there, you can actually break free from it. That is really cool, and it's probably one of my favorite features. And we're gonna place this T-Rex on the left team. Right over here is another super brightly custom colored T-Rex figure. This T-Rex is another fiery red color, and it actually has very similar design to this super colossal T-Rex right over here. You can see all those similarities. And now we're actually gonna place them on the same team, on the right side. All right, the time has come. We are gonna check out this new custom colored T-Rex that I ordered, and I actually haven't seen it yet. You can see the tip of the tail right there, so let's go ahead and pull it out. And here it is. All right, it is another custom colored camouflage T-Rex. That is super cool. It's got the bright green on the sides and then brown and black and tan all over the rest of its body. And this one looks to be actually a battle damage T-Rex, like this bright orange one right over here. And look at that, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off still. And actually this figure seems to be pretty similar in color to this older custom colored camouflage T-Rex. Look at that, they're pretty similar. They both have a lot of the same colors. This is really cool. And instead of having them on the same team, I'm actually gonna put this one on the left team over here so they can face off against each other. Our next figure in this T-Rex versus T-Rex collection is this dark green T-Rex. And this one was actually not custom colored. This is how it came. And comparing the two colors, the custom colored green is a lot brighter than this green. And this T-Rex still has the button on the top of its head for the chomping action. Now let's put this T-Rex on the right team. Let's keep going here. Let's grab this one next. Here is another very natural colored T-Rex. Looks like it's a light gray color on the sides and dark brown on the top. I bet that this T-Rex would blend into rocks or a mountainside really well. Its body is fully posable and it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And this T-Rex is gonna go over on the left team. I've got at least one more bright orange T-Rex figure. This figure is a little bit older. I think it might be from the Fallen Kingdom era. And like that super colossal figure in the back there, it has the bright orange body with the brown on top, and it features the chomping button. Let's move it on over to the right team. Here's another crazy looking custom colored T-Rex. And this figure is actually quite old. I believe it's from the first Jurassic World movie. I believe that this figure used to be a tan color, actually just like this figure right here. These two figures are basically identical, other than the coloring, of course. And they both got a button on the top of their back for a chomping action, although they don't work too well anymore. Now let's put them on opposing sides. The custom colored T-Rex is gonna go on the left team, and the original tan T-Rex is gonna go on the right team. I've actually got one more T-Rex figure from that same era. This figure is basically the exact same size, although it has different coloring, and this is actually how it came too. So it has the dark green on the body, but it has some reflective gold along the top, and then this interesting design running along its neck and its side too. But coolest of all, it actually has some hidden spikes on its back and its head, so that when you press the chomping action, its spikes spring out too. Now what side should this T-Rex go on? Let's have it go on the right team. Coming up next, we've got a smaller T-Rex figure, and this is actually a model T-Rex that wasn't made by Hasbro or Mattel. It features some brown coloring with the black stripes, and since it's a model, you can't actually move any body parts. And let's put this figure on the left team. This next figure is another model T-Rex, and it has some kind of tiger-like coloring with the orange-yellow body and then those black stripes right on top of that. Let's put this T-Rex model on the right team. Got a few more model T-Rexes in here. This one is a dark green with black striping, and on this model T-Rex, you can actually open and close its jaws. Now let's put this one on the left team right there. And here is one more model T-Rex figure. This one is also brown and black, pretty similar to this T-Rex right here, but it is quite a bit smaller, and on this figure, you can actually open and close its jaw too. Now let's have it go on the right team. Next, let's check out some Lego T-Rex figures. This first one is brown and bright orange. It features a fully posable body and a huge jaw. And this one's gonna go to the left team. Now let's grab that other Lego T-Rex figure that I have in here. This one is a lot darker brown. You can check out the color difference between the two right there. But in shape and size, they're pretty similar. Although I will point out that this one has white teeth, and the teeth on this figure are not colored at all. But nevertheless, let's set this one on the right team. And we're back to the figures made by Mattel. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It's smaller than many of these other figures in here, but it has a button on the top of its back to activate the sound effects. Let's see if we have any more room for this T-Rex here. Now here's a wacky looking T-Rex figure. This is a Gujitsu Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it is actually licensed by Jurassic World, so this is an official figure. And the feature of this figure is that it's got a super squishy and super stretchy body. Check out this crazy stretching. All right, now I don't know that this figure is actually gonna stand up, but we're gonna place it on the left team here. I've also got a Funko Pop figure in here. This one is from Jurassic World Dominion, and I really like the all black eyes on this figure. Makes it look really scary. And we're gonna place this on the right team. Right here are some older figures, I believe once again from the first Jurassic World movie. This super bright one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, and it's got the bright neon orange and the reflective gold coloring on its body. So this one is pretty special. So let's place that on the left team right here and check out this other one that is very similar sized but not a hybrid T-Rex. So this is the original version, and it's got a little bit of battle damage right on the side. And let's place this right in front of the hybrid T-Rex on the right team. And finally, I've got some tiny T-Rex figures in here. Let's check all of these out. Looks like there's a couple Snap Squad figures in here. This first Snap Squad T-Rex is in the brown orange coloring with the dark brown on the top. And let's place this on the right side. And then there's also this dark green Snap Squad T-Rex. And I think this T-Rex figure is actually pretty similar in color and design as this one way back there. Look at that, they're basically the same green color. Now let's put this one on the left side here. And for our final two, we've got this crazy looking T-Rex figure. This one's also quite a bit old, so the chomping action doesn't work anymore, sadly. But we'll go ahead and put it on the right team. And then finally, this miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It is all brown, although its eyes look to be painted black, which is a nice detail. And the underbelly is also painted a lighter tan color. And let's finally put this T-Rex on the left team. And so here is our entire versus battle. We've got the left team of T-Rexes over here versus the right team. Which side do you think would win in a battle? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get started with our first T-Rex. This is the classic Camp Cretaceous T-Rex, and is one of my favorites because of how realistic it looks when you move it. Next, let's grab our first Raptor. Let's go with this huge Dino Trackers Indoraptor. This is actually one of the newest and most recent Indoraptor figures that Mattel has released. And there are the first two facing off. Let's get some more. Next up, let's go with the classic Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot darker than the Camp Cretaceous version, and it might actually be a little bit bigger. For our next Raptor, why don't we go with this big one right here? I believe that this is Velociraptor Blue, and it actually has some pretty cool action features. You can press down on its body for a chomping action, and you can swivel it side to side as if it's walking. All right, let's set that up right in front of the huge Indoraptor. For our next T-Rex, let's go with the huge Stomp and Escape T-Rex. I think this might actually be from Camp Cretaceous as well. And it's got some pretty cool attack buttons. There's a button on its back for the roaring action. Plus, you can twist the tail for stomp sound effects. Let's see, we've got another big Raptor in here. Let's go with this next Indoraptor. This is actually a pretty old figure. This is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. And it's called that because it has a few features. First, you can use this button to move its arms. There's also a button on the bottom of its tail to chomp the jaw. And you can even use the tail to move the head around too. All right, let's put this one pretty close to the other Indoraptor figure. There, he'll be holding on to this little guy. Back to the T-Rexes. Let's grab this guy and see it is a battle damage T-Rex. Check that out right there on the side with a click of a button. You can reveal the battle damage. Plus, the rest of the body is posable as well. Now let's set this one down right next to the Camp Cretaceous T-Rex. There they are facing off with the Raptors. For our next Raptor, we're gonna grab this one at the bottom. This is a Utah Raptor from Jurassic Park. So this figure is pretty old and actually has a rubber skin texture as opposed to the hard plastic of all the rest of these. And you can even move the claws on its feet up and down. Let's set this one up right next to the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. On to our next T-Rex, we've got a few more huge ones in here. This one, I believe, is from Fallen Kingdom. And this one features a pretty cool chomping action when you move its tail. Check that out just by moving its tail down. And when you move its tail the other way, it actually has a roaring action. Let's see now, let's put this T-Rex right next to the Stomp and Escape. Back to the Raptors, let's grab this little one. This is our first Atrociraptor of this collection. And this is actually a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. It is actually battery operated, and you can get it to walk around. Plus, it has some chomping and roaring sound effects. We're gonna set this one up towards the front because it is a bit shorter than the rest of them. Our next T-Rex is a battle damage T-Rex. You can see that it has some battle damage slashes on its chin and on its neck and on other parts of its body too. So it is a battle damage T-Rex like this one, but this one you can turn on and off, and this one is just painted on its body. And so we're gonna put it right next to the other battle damage T-Rex. Looks like we've got a few more Indoraptor figures in this collection. This one is from Fallen Kingdom, so it's pretty old, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but its whole body is very posable. So let's get them posed, and let's set them right next to the Utah Raptor. For our next T-Rex, we've got a pretty wildly colored one. This one was actually custom colored. Plus, I believe this T-Rex is from the first Jurassic World movie, so you might have some trouble finding it now. Next, let's grab this Atrociraptor figure in the classic white with brown striping, just like in the movie. And this is a basic figure, so sadly there's no action buttons, but it still looks really cool. Let's set it down right next to the other Atrociraptor. Looks like we got one more big T-Rex here. This T-Rex is also from the first Jurassic World movie, so it is pretty old and probably pretty hard to find. And this version has the tan coloring. It's got some gray detailing along its face and the action button on its back for the jaws. All right, here is our final Indoraptor of the collection, I think. This is the basic version of the Indoraptor, so it's a whole lot less posable than many of these other figures right here. And it might actually be a little bit smaller. All right, it looks like it is in the sneaking pose. Check out that gold stripe that switches to a darker brown gold right along its tail. And let's set this up right beside these Atrociraptor figures. Now let's grab this T-Rex figure. This is actually a model T-Rex figure, not made by Mattel, but it still looks really ferocious, has some really cool texturing and color detailing too. And since it's a little bit smaller, let's set it up on the front lines right in front of the Raptors. Over here, we've got a huge Velociraptor blue figure. And just like this Indoraptor figure that we see right here, this is the basic version of Velociraptor blue. So it's not super posable, but it still looks great. Let's set this up right behind the basic Indoraptor. We've got some crazy looking T-Rexes in here. This figure's a bit smaller than all the rest of the T-Rexes, but it still has some amazing coloring. Check out that texturing and the fading from the yellow to the green. Let's set this one down right behind the first model T-Rex figure. Back to our Raptors, we've got another Velociraptor blue figure, but this one is from the Amber collection, so this one is super posable, and it's even got some glowing gold eyes. That's a really cool feature. So why don't we set this one up right next to the basic Velociraptor blue figure. Look at the differences in the coloring and the texturing compared to the basic version right here. On to our next T-Rex figure. We've got a blue and gold T-Rex figure right here, and it's even got some bright teal coloring right around its eyes too. I think this figure might be the smallest T-Rex yet, so let's set this one up right in front. Let's go ahead and grab these other two Amber collection Velociraptors. There's first Velociraptor Charlie in the bright green coloring with the striping along the top and a headpiece right behind its face. Let's set this raptor down right in front of the Amber collection Velociraptor blue. And then there's Velociraptor Echo in the brown and black coloring with the lighter underbelly. And so let's set this Velociraptor up right in front of the others. Looks like we've got a few small T-Rexes in here. This is an older figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a little battle damage on the side and a tail that controls the mouth. Now this is a little itty bitty T-Rex, so we're gonna put it right up front. And here is our last raptor of this collection. It looks like it's an Atrociraptor in the white with brown striping, just like this basic version right here. And so we're gonna set it up right in front, really close to the other T-Rex. And here is our final dinosaur. This is a green T-Rex from the first Jurassic World movie. Just like the other miniature T-Rex that we see right here, it's got the battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to open and close the mouth, as well as move the neck. So let's set this down right in front, next to the other T-Rex. But wait, I've actually got a surprise for you. I've actually bought some new stuff to show in this collection. This first one is a custom colored T-Rex that I just ordered off of eBay. This is my first time seeing it, and I love the attention to detail with the coloring. It really looks lifelike. Plus, it looks like there's a whole lot more battle damage than there normally was on this figure. That is really cool. And look at that, there's even some more battle damage on the other side. All right, that is super cool. I definitely want to be getting getting more custom painted T-Rexes. And let's not forget, for the Raptor side, I just bought an uncaged Rowdy Roars Velociraptor beta figure. Now let's power it up and check it out. Just like the Rowdy Roar figure back there, there's a button at the top of the head. You get some chomping and sound effects. And you can also touch it underneath its chin to make it walk. First up is one of the figures I'm most proud of. This is a custom colored Atrociraptor, and I painted this myself. Went with the yellow and orange sides and the brown striped top. And I put in those red eyes too. I'm super proud of this. Next up, we've got the Tiger Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This is a larger Velociraptor compared to a lot of the Raptor figures in here. And of course, it's got that orange striped back and super posable body. Here is a huge Pyroraptor figure. This is the basic edition from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got feathers all over its body, even on its tail, and it's got a cool looking crown on the top of its head, made of feathers as well. This is a Mega Raptor from Jurassic World Dominion, so this is quite a new figure as well. It's got the red and dark blue body and the lighter detailing on the top of its head. Plus, when you press down on its back, it has a chomping action with sound effects. Here is Velociraptor Echo from the Amber collection. Once again, a larger Velociraptor figure compared to normal, super posable, and it's got some awesome coloring and detailing all over its body. Here is an older Velociraptor figure. It's still Jurassic World, not Jurassic Park, but it's quite old. I think it might have come out during the first movie. It's got the tan body with the green striping on top, and it's pretty limited with what you can do and what you can move around, so they've definitely come a long way. Back here is another super old Jurassic World Velociraptor figure. Once again, pretty large, and this one actually has an action that when you press down on its tail, it swings its arms back and forth. Plus, it has a battle damage button right there. I don't think it works anymore, but normally it would light up and it would have sound effects as well. Now here is a really old Velociraptor figure. This is from Jurassic Park. It's got this orange striped body, and this one used to have an action that when you pressed on its leg, it would move its neck forward, but it's really old, so it doesn't work anymore. Check it out, we've got another Pyroraptor figure. This one is a lot smaller. It's still got the same coloring with the black on its body and the red, and this one actually has an extreme battle damage feature on its side that you can turn on and off. Here's a huge Atrociraptor figure. This one is the light colored with the brown striping, actually the same color as this super colossal figure that you see over in the corner. And of course, it's got those super cool looking red eyes. Next up, we've got the Velociraptor Blue figure from the Amber collection. This figure is super posable. It has the iconic coloring for Velociraptor Blue, and it actually has a bendable tail. It's like slightly rubber, but you can actually pose it and bend it in different ways, which is pretty cool. Here is a smaller Velociraptor figure. This is from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the light body with the dark blue coloring on top, and it has an extreme battle damage feature on its side that you can turn on and off. Here's another Pyroraptor figure. This one is super posable. You can move its neck in all directions, you can move its legs, and you can even twist its tail as well. It's a bit darker colored than the other Pyroraptor figures that I have. This is Velociraptor Charlie from the Amber collection. It's got the bright green body with stripes, the gray underbelly, and a headpiece right on top of its head. Here is another vintage Velociraptor figure. This might be one of the oldest Velociraptor figures that I have. Check it out, it's got the 3 tones of color and the yellow eyes too. Back here, we've got some basic Velociraptor figures. These both are identical. They are the orange and brown with the yellow eyes. You can't open the jaws, but you can move the arms, the legs, and the tails. And I've also got another basic figure back here that is Velociraptor Blue. And this figure also has the same features. You can move the arms, the legs, and the tail, but you can't open the jaw or move the neck or anything like that. Back here, we've got some more super old Jurassic World figures. I think these might be from the first or the second movie. This first one is brown with gray striping and is pretty limited with the movements. You can't even open and close the mouth. And there's also this old Jurassic World Velociraptor with the same limited movements, and it looks like it's stuck in a roaring pose or something like that. Down here, it looks like we've got some super bright Velociraptor figures. These are all pretty brightly colored and differently colored. I've got a teal green Velociraptor with these spring-loaded legs, so you can actually launch it into the air. Same with this one, is actually spring-loaded as well, but it is super bright red and bright green. And finally, there's this slightly more muted green Velociraptor, but it has an action button on its back that you can use to move its arms. Next, I think this is my final Amber Collection Velociraptor. This is Velociraptor Delta with the teal blue coloring with all the darker specks along its body and is super posable, just like the other Amber Collection figures. I've got another older Jurassic World Velociraptor here with the brown and gray striping, and just like the other older figures, it's pretty limited in its movement, so it's stuck with its mouth open like that. These are Atrociraptor figures. I've got a tan and brown one that is in the sneaking pose and is pretty adjustable. It can open its mouth and move its neck and its limbs. And I've also got this white and brown Atrociraptor, just like the super colossal one that you see over there. And it is pretty posable as well. It's even got those orange-red eyes. These Velociraptor figures both have an extreme battle damage on the side that you can open and close. Check that out. And this one is Velociraptor Blue with the extreme battle damage. Looks like I've got a few more Velociraptor Blue figures in here. It is the most popular Velociraptor after all. This one is this spring-loaded version, so you can launch it into the air as if it's jumping. And this one is the normal version of Velociraptor Blue. Check out another vintage Jurassic Park Velociraptor. This is JP10, so it might be a little bit more recent than the JP06 one that we saw earlier. And it has totally different coloring too. It's got the orange and the red on top. And we've got another handful of Velociraptors in here, all with different colors. This first one, I believe, is my most recent one. It is part of the Jurassic World Dominion series. It has some really cool coloring along the top. I've also got this really cool bright red and purple striped Velociraptor, as well as a normal brown Velociraptor with reflective green eyes, and this blue Velociraptor with bright yellow along the top. And over here, I've got another small Atrociraptor figure with the bright orange coloring and the tan striping all over its body. And let's not forget these super colossal Velociraptor figures I had in the back here the whole time. This one is black with brown striping, and it's got a really cool looking eye. And there is also super colossal Velociraptor Blue with the blue stripe down the sides and the lighter underbelly, and those same really cool eyes. And also this super colossal Atrociraptor that came out for Jurassic World Dominion. First off, we've got the Velociraptor Blue figure from the Amber Collection. This figure is very movable and very posable. You can see the iconic blue stripe down its side. You can open and close the jaw, move the neck all around. All in all, is a very posable figure. Next up, from the Amber Collection is Velociraptor Delta. This figure has some pretty cool detailing and coloring on its body. I love the teal green color and the light underbelly. It's really cool. and is very posable as well. Can move all the limbs in its body, and it is extremely posable. Over here, we've got a Jurassic Park figure. So this figure is really old. This is one of the classic Triceratops figure. You can see that it's got some battle damage, a huge chunk taken out of its side right there. And this Triceratops actually has an action that when you squeeze its stomach, it moves its head up and down. This is another Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This one is Velociraptor Echo. It's got the brown and black coloring along the top with the lighter underbelly, and just like the other figures, is extremely posable. And one thing I haven't pointed out yet is that the tail is actually a bendable rubber. There's like a piece of metal in there, so you can actually bend it and it'll stay in place. That's pretty cool. Here is a Triceratops figure. I think this one might be from Camp Cretaceous, but I can't remember. Let me know in the comments if you know where this Triceratops is from. But it's got the clay red body. It's like a little orangish almost. It's got the brown detailing along the top and the action button on its back for the roaring. Plus, you can move all of its legs too. They can go back and forth a little bit. Here is a bright red and purple Velociraptor figure. This is the classic size for the Velociraptor figures. You can open and close the jaw, you can move the arms and the legs as well, but there's no action button on this one. This Velociraptor is an even brighter red, and it has some bright green striping and detailing along the top. You can actually move the neck back and forth on this figure and up and down. And this figure is actually spring-loaded in the legs so that it can actually leap up into the air if you were to let it go, which is pretty cool. Up next are these two green Velociraptor figures. They look almost identical, but you can tell that the coloring on this one is a little bit darker. See those stripes? They're a little bit darker. But they both have a button on their back to activate the arm action. Here is one of the brightest dinosaurs in this bin. This is a hybrid Triceratops. As you can tell, it is a hybrid with a Stegosaurus. It's got those gold coloring right along the top there. It's got a little bit of battle damage on the side. And when you move the tail, it actually sticks its head forward as if it's stabbing something. Here's another Velociraptor blue figure, but this is in the classic smaller size. Of course, you can see the iconic stripes down the sides of the body. And it is pretty posable. You can move the arms, the legs, and you can open and close the jaw too. Here is another dark gray Velociraptor, but instead of the blue stripe, we've got some yellow detailing along the top, along its tail, and on the top of its head as well. And this figure is fairly movable as well. You can move the arms and the legs, and of course, open and close the jaw. Here is another super old figure. This is a Jurassic Park Triceratops figure. It's got a dark green coloring along the sides with a darker green along the top. And this figure actually has an action button that when you move this leg, it moves its head up and down. I bet you saw this super colossal figure already too. This is the super colossal Velociraptor Blue. Check out that huge blue stripe down its body. It's got some huge claws on its hands. It's got the light underbelly, and of course, like all the super colossal figures, it has the stomach compartment so you can feed it smaller dinosaurs. Up next, this isn't a Triceratops, but I believe it is a Spinosaurus. So pretty closely related. Comes with some sound effects as you can hear. It's got some pretty cool coloring with the gray along its body. It's got some brighter yellow right on the front as well. And you can use the tail to control the head. Before we go any further, I've actually got some brand new figures that we're gonna open up right now. Let's start with this Jurassic World Dominion, Dr. Ian Malcolm, and Velociraptor pack. So here is the Velociraptor from the pack. It's got a dark green color and some pretty cool detailing along the top. It's like brown and then some green detailing speckled in too. That's pretty cool. I don't have another Velociraptor that is colored like this. And here is the Dr. Ian Malcolm figure with an electric staff, as well as some grasshopper figures that I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. Next, we've got the Triceratops from the Hammond collection. I'm excited to check this one out. This Triceratops is a dark brown color. It has some pretty faint detailing along its body. You can see it's a bit lighter in some areas, but overall it's kind of the same brown color everywhere. It's got a lighter underbelly, but my favorite part is the face and the frill too. That's where the most detail is. Look at these horns. They've looked like they've gone through a lot of wear and tear. I love those orange eyes. So yeah, the face is definitely my favorite part of this figure, and it is fairly movable as well. You can see that you can move the legs back and forth and up and down and all over, and there are 2 joints in the tail as well, which is a pretty cool detail. So all in all, it's okay. I would have liked to have seen better coloring along the body because it's pretty subtle and it kind of just looks like a brown Triceratops all over. But it's pretty different from the other Triceratops I have, so I'm still happy to have this in my collection. Next up, we've got Velociraptor Charlie from the Amber collection. This figure has the bright green coloring with the darker stripes along the top and is just as posable as all the other Velociraptor figures. We've got another hybrid Triceratops figure, and I think we've actually got another one with different coloring. These are both hybrid Triceratops mixed with a Stegosaurus. You can see battle damage on both of them, and on both these figures, when you move the tail, it swings its head forward as if it's stabbing, just like the bright blue one that we saw earlier. Here's another large Triceratops figure. This one actually has 2 action buttons. The first one activates the head to move up and down, and the second button swings the tail. It's got some pretty dark coloring as well. It's a dark green with some dark brown detailing along its top and on the front as well. This Velociraptor is a dark blue color. It's got some darker stripes on the top, and it's actually got an action button, I believe, that activates the arms. There we go. And of course you can open and close the jaw and move the head too. Here is a little Triceratops figure. I think I've actually got 2 of these that are identical. Both of them have the extreme battle damage right there on the side that you can open and close, which is a pretty cool feature. And both of them are this light green color with the brown on the top too. Here's another bright Velociraptor figure. This one is a bright blue with darker striping along the top. And this one is actually spring-loaded, so like the other ones that we saw, if you bend the legs and then let it go, it'll actually jump up into the air. Here's a dinosaur species that's a relative to the Triceratops. This is the Zuniceratops. It's got the 2 horns in the front and a big frill, and then the green body with the darker detailing along the top. Next up, we've got a Velociraptor with a slashing action. This figure is spring-loaded, so you can swing it side to side to swing those arms and claws around. That's a pretty cool feature. Here's another big dinosaur figure. This is also a relative to the Triceratops. This is an Pseudoceratops, and it has 2 action buttons on its back. The first one activates the head for the roaring, and the second activates the tail. That's pretty cool. Plus it's got some dark green coloring on its legs that fades into the blue, and then the red detailing on the top and on its face too. Looks like we've got 2 more Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is another super bright Velociraptor with the orange and yellow, and it is also spring-loaded, so this one will jump up into the air as well. And this other Velociraptor is Velociraptor Blue with battle damage on the side that you can open and close. And then finally, I've got these itty-bitty little Triceratops figures from Jurassic World. They all look pretty identical, but with different coloring. This first one is a dark brown color. I've also got a gray one with lighter gray on the top. And finally, this bright green one with lighter green on the top.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.